What car will you never buy again? Toyota, because I'm pretty sure mine will last the rest of my life with no problems, lol. I took my 2002 Corolla to the mechanic thinking it was going to cost me a fortune. $60 later, and the fella told me to never get rid of it. PT Cruiser. Almost everything went wrong with my lemon yellow PT Cruiser. Just a few fun things. Back door button didn't work, and I had to pull back the paneling to access a release from the inside. I didn't dare tap my horn as it would frequently just stay honking constantly until L turned off the car. Battery leaked constantly for some reason. I had to disconnect every time I parked. Gas gauge stopped working around half empty. Jeeps, just expect every problem. My dad calls them, just empty every pocket. I love it when people make backronyms from car names. My favorite has to be lots of trouble, usually serious. A Toyota Prius. I bought a 2007 and told my wife would drive it until it dies. That thing would not die. I mean, it never even needed repairs. Tires, oil changes, wiper blades, and bulbs. I really wanted a new car. Thankfully, she agreed to let me sell it. At 280K plus miles, it still drove like new. I'll never make that mistake again. I once saw a NY cab that was a Prius with 450K miles on it. Absolutely astounding. Not me, but my parents, Dodge. My parents had a Dodge Caliber that had so many issues with the transmission, axles, engine, exhaust, and so much more that it made me never want to own a Dodge when I do buy a car one day. I've heard other Dodge owners having issues too.
I've spent nearly 15 years working as a parts advisor, selling parts for Suzuki, Subaru, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, Fiat, Alfa, Hyundai, Kia, and GM. From that, I will never buy anything American, European, and/or Korean made. I will only buy Japanese cars.
Toyota. Jeep owned a Cherokee and always had suspension boots that cracked and leaked oil, and the electrical and coolant systems were constantly on the fritz. Parents' Cherokee had so many recalls, it was basically a different car from what came from the factory. Over 13K in one repair instance. My friend's Wrangler literally died in an intersection within a week of purchase while he was driving it. The angle of the windshields make them more prone to rock chips and cracks. Uconnect was super late in supporting Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto and older models were left out. The Wagoneer embodies everything wrong with American car market trends. Too big, but not where it matters. Too expensive. Too slow. Too inefficient. Oh, and their stupid experiment to try out new gear shifter designs resulted in the accidental death of Anton Yelchin. Based on all the varied responses in this thread due to bias, the consensus is to just not buy any car, ever. They're all shit. All of them, in the history of the world, forever. The consensus seems to be that Japanese manufacturers are the way to go. I will only buy Honda or Toyota, and even then, the models would be limited. European cars are not only expensive to buy, they are expensive to maintain. American cars are fine if you don't mind buying new again, before they get to 100K miles. These are broad generalizations, but they hold true in my experience. If Toyota made beautiful and desirable cars, they'd have it all. I don't get it. They make good cars, but I find their design mostly ugly. A fucking Buick. I'm a simple gal. I ask two things of my car: to stop and go. Every Chevy I've had has had constantly weird issues, mostly with overheating. Very true LOL, I had a Chevy Volt that pissed coolant constantly. I loved it, but couldn't afford to fix it. I'm on my third Silverado. First one was a 1988 that made it 450K miles before it started having electrical issues. Second one made it 290K miles and got traded for the 2008 sitting outside now. Current one has 210K miles at the moment, but has never had any major issues. Just a few sensors, all cheap and easy to replace myself, and the usual maintenance wear items. Personally, I think Chevy has made both ends of the quality spectrum like most manufacturers. However, even on their nicer vehicles, you need to be on top of the maintenance, compared to some Toyota and Honda cars that seemingly never die no matter the abuse. I know, no surprise. Land Rover. It was my wife's dream car. What a poss. Came here to say Range Rover. I bought out my lease last year because it made more sense than buying a new car in this market. I pay for an extended warranty and pray every day as L inch towards that miracle millig number, where it all goes to shit and costs 50K to fix. It's a beautiful looking car, but Gissus. It's not worth it. The sales price is ridiculous, but the maintenance and repair costs are absurd. FYI, I only have a Range Rover because the dealer gave us the friends and family pin rate. So the deal was amazing when we got it. Jeep. Man, I love the idea they represent, but the cost of repair in the UK now is prohibitive. Fun cars break a lot, especially when you take them off-road. Real shame. All the cars I've already owned. This was my joke reaction. Like, why would I go buy a 2005 Volvo again? The one I had back then is gonna be crap today. Cheap, though. All GM cars. This situation applied to the GMC Acadia. Not that I owned one, but my dad owns one. A very common issue that GM has acknowledged and refused to fix for free with the 2016-2019 model year Acadias is the shift to park message showing every time you shut the car off. Basically, there is a chip in the shifter, which is supposed to detect if the car is parked, and after 60,000 miles or more, this chip fails and the car is unable to detect that it is properly in park. It was very difficult for us to figure out because the battery would never shut off, and we found out that we have to flick the button on the shifter that allows you to shift gears every time you turn off the car so that the message goes away. One time, my dad forgot to do that, and the car battery was left on overnight, and the battery died. He tried jumping it, and was all sleepy-headed and fucked up, and put the jumper cables on wrong, and fried his battery, so we had to get it towed for a replacement. The issue persists, and there is a few known fixes, but as for the actual chip, it's near impossible to fix because there is such a wide number of replacement chips available, but it is hard to narrow down which one is the correct one. The fact that this is a defect on the vehicle, and it is GM's fault, and they refuse to fix this for free is astonishing to me. This reflects really poorly on behalf of the GM. Anything Hyundai or Kia. I don't like having my car stolen because the car makers are too stupid to make a security system that can't easily be bypassed by simply taking apart the steering column and using a damn USB cord to start the car. Ford, anyone. Nothing against their cars, but every dealership have been to left me with the feeling I was being ripped off. Probably just a bad bunch of dealers in my area, or some sort of bias, but I won't buy Fords again. Mercedes, every time you take it in, because the light goes off, they want to charge you a minimum of $2,600. It's just a huge scam. Oh, look, there's a sensor light out on your exhaust? Well, that'll be $1,800? I truly stopped believing their mechanics knew what they were doing. All they do is replace parts, they don't fix anything. I don't believe they know how they just read the readout and charge you the highest amount that appears. Any Kia or Hyundai, rife with engine problems, theft issues, and more. Worst yet, they refuse to admit and help their customers until forced. Heard nothing but good things from Honda, Toyota, and Mazda. Probably a Tesla. Not a Musk fan at all, but I love it as EV, but 80% of the reason I bought it was because of the charging network. With everyone going to NX, Tesla opening up their charging network, big investments in charging infrastructure, and other manufacturers releasing more vehicle options. I doubt I'll end up with another one when the time comes to trade it in. There should be more and better options, and the charging network probably won't be a consideration. I have a 2019 Ford Escape that I hate with a passion. I have sunk so much money into this car. The motor was replaced at 30k miles and the transmission at 82k. And now I have to find a transmission bolt because I'm stupid, and out the damn thing is crooked. Hyundai had a 2015 Tucson that had engine and oil consumption problems. Cost me 2 catalytic converters, plus other things related to the issue. Last thing the dealer told me was Hyundai no longer wants to put money into this vehicle. To top, it's the #1 stolen vehicle in the States, which in return, my insurance jacked my rates astronomically. I got rid of it. I will never recommend a Hyundai to anyone. I bought a new Hyundai Accent in 2014 and it runs as good as the day I bought it. Camry, because I'll never have to. 300k miles, 0 signs of slowing down. Edit for context, Euro 5 Camry. Got it in 2010 with 40k miles. Gets in excess of 30 Mapperkstasserie. I'll use it as my commuter car. I have a 120-mile round trip multiple times a week. I have had to do routine maintenance, but otherwise it has been mostly devoid of issues. Last year, the stereo started going, so I replaced it with a modern, touchscreen style stereo. I missed the 5 CD changer, but the phone connectivity is worth it. Previously, I was using an A tape deck adapter with my phone. LOL. I have a 2005 Saab 92X. It's chugging along just fine, but I will never purchase a car without AC ever again. It's just insufferable, especially for someone who's never gone to an actual mechanic and is very reluctant to do so. But I'll be hauling it to the shop this summer because I can't deal with driving for 20 minutes and inevitably being drenched in sweat. My mom had a 2021 Bronco Sport, absolute piece of shit. Fucking ugly too. Brand new right off the lot. I think it was within 3 or 4 months she said she was having transmission issues and some electrical issue though, I can't remember what it was. I never would have bought one in the first place, purely due to how fucking hideous the thing was. But after hearing about those 2-day issues with it, L absolutely never will. Volkswagen, nice cars, but the maintenance is a nightmare. The objectively correct answer is Hyundai or Kia. The theft issues are ridiculous. I'd rather have a shit car than one that I am too scared to park on a street with. All I've ever bought are Toyotas and Hondas. Anything built anywhere else is garbage. People buying Cadillac Escalades for 100 kWh plus, and it's literally one of the worst cars ever made. Same with Range Rover. This thread is both a reminder of how USA-dominated Reddit is and of how bad their cars are. I'm in the UK and could buy like 10% of the cars mentioned even if I wanted to LOL. Any Audi. Got a used A4. Great condition. Low miles. Fairly new. Only one owner. It was a beautiful car that handled like a dream, but it had oil issues the entire time I owned it. Every month something else needed to be fixed. And of course, it was juiced out of warranty, and since it was a foreign car, those fixes weren't cheap. Maybe I got a lemon, maybe not. But I'll never get any German car again. Not worth the hassle. I crashed an A4 at high speed into a wall, walked away from it with a broken nose from the airbag, and no more. Don't make them anymore, but Pontiac Grand Am. Bought one brand new off the lot in 2003-ish. Thing was a piece of shit right off the lot. Biggest issue was overheating, which the dealership didn't see as a problem. I'd have to blast the heat in the summer to keep the car from overheating. Lamborghini Aventador. It's a gas guzzler, expensive to insure, expensive to maintain, and the high price point means I could never buy it outside of the Hot Wheel version I own. Alfa Romeo Giulietta. Nice car, but I had some very bad luck with the one I bought, and now I'm a bit traumatized by the amount of repairs I needed to do. A Saturn. It was the worst car ever. Leaking fuel lines, air conditioning problems, engine rebuilt due to pistons going through the block. It was a mess. Spent so much money on that stupid car. Hyundai Kia. Personally, I like my Elantra a lot, and I love the designs of Hyundai vehicles. But I can't justify the terrible resale value, and the whole theft thing makes getting insured very hard. Honda and Toyota are everyone's recommendations for a reason: great reliability, good resale value, comfortable, sleek, and they don't change body types every 12 hours like Hyundai and Kia. Like to LOL. Subaru. I live in Colorado, so it was great in the snow. But anytime anything went wrong, it was at least $1,000 to fix it. Switched to Toyota, and the repairs are a fraction of the price that the Subaru had. Any car other than Toyota. I have a new 2023 Corolla and a Camry that I've owned for 30 years. Best vehicles on the road. Jeep. I have a 2021 Jeep Compass that has been absolutely terrible. White paint is turning yellow in spots. Windshield cracks super easy. Sometimes the screen, where all your info pops up when you plug in your phone, won't come on. A heat shield thing that went over the muffler fell off. Now I'm waiting for a call back from the service center. That's probably never going to come, because the auto start stop went out this week, and the check engine light is on. I take extremely good care of my cars, because I drive them as long as possible. I had a GMC Yukon that I drove into the ground over 15 years, and it lasted to the bitter end. 3 years in, and the Piaz is costing me more than it's worth. Everything from a German manufacturer. I had 2 BMWs, 1 Mercedes, 1 Audi, and the last one Skoda. Overall, German manufactured cars are shit and expensive to maintain. After Skoda, I decided next time to go with Japanese cars. Right now, looking at Subaru's direction. GM any model can't be trusted. Petrol or diesel, ESP diesel. They have so many issues over time, L refused to drive mine. The Czech 2500, the Denali pickup, further than 2 hours from home in case something came up. My work has all GM pickups, and there's always one of them in the dealer's service center. IDK why it's so popular. Maybe the culture and marketing is so good. BMW in general, it was a shit show. The 2-year-old car was bought with 47K miles, and thankfully I got the extended warranty. Over the course of 4 years and 30K miles, it paid out around 25K in repairs. The last year of ownership was hell. Every 5 to 6 weeks it was back in the shop. My sister's Kia recently caught fire while she was driving. Apparently that is an issue going on right now with some Kia vehicles. Volkswagen GTI. Timing chain went out at 95,000 miles. Literally a week after the dealership told me I didn't need any maintenance. Fortunately, they did work with me on a trade. Later, I found out from my salesperson that the transmission went out on the GTI on the test drive after they replaced the block. Anything Kia or Kia related, my Sportage had a piston misfire in the engine, 8 months outside of the warranty, and totally wrecked the inside of my motor. There was a class action lawsuit about it, but I haven't seen any money yet. A Toyota truck for actual work. The bed rubbed the cab in the ruts on the farm. The actual trailering power is significantly less than that of a GM or Ford work truck. The payload capacity is okay, but the first time it got loaded with gravel, the bed dented significantly. They're great mall crawlers, but at the first sign of a load of work, they might as well be unibody like the Ridgeline for runs to Home Depot. A VW Beetle, original. They were my first 2 cars, and I loved both of them. But let's face it, they are really out of time. They burn too much fuel, they just look great. What am I talking about? If I had the money, I'd buy one as a Sunshine second car. Subaru Crosstrek. Surprisingly, it was under 35k miles and had an engine oil leak, dead battery issues, suspension noises, and issues with the drive shaft since the engine had to be removed after the oil leak. Jeep. I had issues with the gear shifter getting stuck with my 2013 Patriot. I'll never buy another Jeep ever again or anything else from Chrysler Stellantis. I've owned 5 cars since the mid-90s, and 3 of them were Chrysler family products. Never again. Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, it's all poorly made trash compared to the Toyota I had for 11 of those years. Jeep Cherokee. I knew better about Chrysler products, but it was so cute and cool. I took a chance. It was so unbelievably horrible. I only had it a year and a half. The dealership mechanic literally threw up his hands the 4th time I took it in. That was the late 90s. I traded it for a Volvo and have driven nothing but Volvos ever since. Fiat 500 Abarth. Fun little car, but the parts are ridiculous to find. Replacing my valve cover gasket and parts are 55 days out for the OEM. Anything but a Honda Civic. I need to get from place A to B. I'm happily married to a beautiful wife, no one to impress. Best car ever. For the money. 200k easy with tires, oil changes, and a few brakes and belts. Anything made by Dodge, Chrysler, and Jeep. I've had all 3 and they all had problems. I just crossed 100k with my 2010 Honda Fit and haven't had a problem. Almost all vehicles are financial liabilities, not assets of any kind, unless you do not drive them. Nothing starts wearing out but tires from exposure at that point. Anything by Hyundai. I had a 2000 Elantra for 13-ish years. It never broke down. It had some issues, but those mostly due to age and mileage. I almost killed it by leaving the radiator cap too loose and boiled out all the coolant. But for all those years, it ran without too many complaints and never a major breakdown. So, you know what? I'll get another Hyundai. 2008 to 12 Veracruz has a design flaw with the valve cover and gasket that would leak on the corner right above the alternator. I got 4 recall notices over the course of a year between 2019-20 stating that they were working on a fix. Well, during that time, my valve cover gasket began leaking, and sure enough, it ruined my alternator. After paying for my own repairs to get my car running again, until such time as the recall fix could be done, I was stuck with all those costs by Hyundai. The recall didn't pay for anything I had to fix, due to their faulty design. Towing, battery, alternator, labor, rideshare to work. None of it. They fixed the gasket and put another new alternator on and sent my merry fucking way. Fuck you, Hyundai. As soon as I am able, I'm buying a Toyota Camry, and I will never entertain the idea of owning another one of your cars, as long as I have left on this earth. And I will tell every human I come into contact with what a piece of shit company you are. Did I say fuck you, Hyundai? Range Rover. I loved it at first. All the cool capabilities you'd hope to get from such a vehicle. Then, electrical issues, leaky sunroof, sensors telling me the bonnet was open when it was closed, air suspension issues, etc. One thing after another, and all expensive to repair. I love the looks of the Range Rover, but not worth it. Anything with a CVT transmission. My 2014 Nissan Sentra just broke down a couple weeks ago. Dealer says I was lucky to get 120k miles, as they typically only make it to about 100k. I have a Gen X Honda Civic. Bought it without much thought because of Honda. This car is the reason I will never buy another Honda. Weird rattles, no damper for the glove box in my market. All of the compartments are strangely sized, so effectively useless, idle vibrations that the dealership thinks are normal. If braking, sometimes the car will lurch and shudder when coming to a complete stop. It has the most uncomfortable seat of any car I've ever owned, among other things, etc. I had a Ford Fusion that went nearly 315k miles. I had to sell it last year because it started to rust out and I needed a truck. But because Ford doesn't make cars anymore, I'll never have the pleasure of owning one again. I've owned several cars domestically, US, rented an astronomical number of cars domestically and internationally, and made a point to test drive several EVs. If I wasn't going to buy an EV, I'd only consider a Honda or Toyota, and of those Toyota are more reliable, but Hondas are better to live with. I really wish European market cars were offered in the US because many are really great, but most Japanese cars offered there are also available in the US anyway. However, I'll only buy an EV at this point, and Honda and Toyota don't have anything to offer there. Of EVs, Teslas are definitely the best by every performance metric. Musk and looks aren't enough to justify buying an inferior EV. Edit. To clarify, I'll own a long-range Model 3 for 2.5 years, and it is so much better than every car I've driven except the Model S. I was a gearhead for years and have had 5.0 Mustang notchback, Civic Si, and less exciting practical cars. Tesla was love at first acceleration-induced headache. Honda Insight. I bought one in 2012, and then in 2022, a 16-year-old kid rear-ended me and totaled it. It was the best accident I've ever been in. Because I got a lot more for my car than I ever would have had, I tried to sell it, mainly because cars at the time were in short supply. But Honda didn't make many of my car with options, and the few that were out there were going for high dollar because they were hybrids. And I literally could only find 4 or 5 cars in the country the same year and model as mine. I had to fight my insurance company to get the correct valuation of it. Literally went up the chain, which was annoying because the other insurance was paying for it. But the original offer the insurance company gave me was $10,000, and I ended up with a check for $17K. Anything from the VW group, which is a lot. They screwed me over with the diesel scandal, and I will hold that grudge forever. Every 2-car family that has an electric car needs also a hybrid or gas one too, and no fucking EVs in cold climates. Hybrids are making a comeback. That said, my husband loves his Tesla more than me. Anything frequently featured on garage YouTube channels where something is wrong with the car. Usually muscle cars, BMW, Audi, Porsche, Jeep, Mercedes, or any supercar. All junk. Had a Dodge Ram Charger when I was younger, so this was leading up to 1995. Engine basically quit at around 85k miles, but at least it handled like a wild bull until the end. What a piece of shit. So my answer is anything Dodge, Chrysler. Infiniti. Bought a 2017 QX80 and had the motor replaced within a year. Next up, the AC compressor. Then electric issues that would prevent doors from unlocking or power lift gates from opening. Then failure of multiple detection sensors, which caused the car to beep incessantly every time you stopped. Honestly, between all that and the shitty gas mileage, I have never been so happy to get rid of a vehicle. A Volkswagen. Longtime VW aficionado. But dealer service stinks? Is expensive. The cars are ever less reliable, and the latest models are even not fun to drive, Jetta, and a bland unlike how they used to be. Chrysler 200. Bought a 2016 model in 2019, about a year went by just fine, but then every 6 to 9 months I was having $500, $1,500 issues with the car. And no, the extended warranty we paid for didn't cover most of these issues. Talked to the mechanic and he told me, the 200, any year, is shit. Sold that car and got a new, you said, car a month ago. Fingers crossed this car doesn't give me another answer for this thread. 2000 Mercury Sable. It was reliable and practical enough, but damn if that car didn't just lack any sense of personality whatsoever. Just blah. I don't need an exciting high-performance racing machine. I loved my Buick Century so much I bought another one. But that Sable could have disappeared into thin air from right under my ass and I wouldn't have noticed. It was that dull and forgettable. Honda Accord. Because it just lasts too damn long for me to buy again. Specifically, I have the 02 V6 Auto, which has the crappy glass transmission. But mine somehow never broke ever. In addition to Toyota's longevity, I have to add safety. My daughter wrapped her born 1998 Camry around a tree at speed. She was life-flighted to the hospital, but eventually made a full recovery from her injuries. Looking at the car post-accident, I can't imagine how she survived, much less fully recovered. I've been a Toyota guy ever since. 15+ years old BMW. I loved my E46, but unfortunately, I don't have a garage. I lived in an apartment. I don't have the tools. I am not a 100% car mechanic myself. I don't have time to maintain the car every week, just to make sure it's tip-top and under control. My Hyundai is currently burning oil and can also be jacked in 5 seconds. I'm never getting a Hyundai again. Volkswagen Beetle. My parents got divorced and my mom ended up getting the relatively new Cadillac. Dad got the shittier car. My mom fucking traded her super nice Cadillac for a fucking 2002 or 2003 yellow. Volkswagen Beetle. That piece of shit was always having problems. Don't really know what the problems were as I was literally like 4 when she bought it. But the seat folding lever was constantly breaking. She went to the dealership to get it fixed, and they basically wanted to charge her $900 just to tell her that yes, it's broken. We ended up just living with it. Kia Soul. Loved mine until the Kia boys ruined it, and it kept getting broken into and stolen once. Kia says it fixed the issue in the newer Souls, but they didn't do shit about older Kias until they were sued. I'm not giving them any more money. Anything Nissan. My first car was a Nissan. I was the 3rd owner, and it didn't have major problems, but there were minor problems that could have turned major with time. My radio stopped working once while I was driving. Just flat out black screen. While I was backing out, I changed my gear shift to drive, and it kept reversing. I had to turn my car off and on again. One time, I tried to start my car and it didn't work. When I got back home using a different car, my roommate told me my car was running when they woke up. My second car is a Nissan, and I was the 2nd owner. I bought it from a dealership in my hometown, and a few days after I bought it, I had to travel across the country, and the gas gauge stopped working. It fixed itself when I got a mechanic to look at it, and they saw no issues. Worst 4 days I've had in a long time. Next car, I think I'll get a van so I can travel around my country. Kinda like those van life influencers, without 10 people living a tiny place. It'll be just me, myself, and I. Tesla. My Model 3 is sitting at the body shop waiting for a new windshield for a month and a half, with no update on when they will be able to get it. Also, the suspension broke immediately after we bought it, and they tried to say we damaged it. The car was brand new, less than 1,000 miles on it, FFS. They finally agreed to cover it for free when we found multiple posts on forums of other people having the same problem. Also, we paid $55K for it, and the car is now worth less than $30K 4 years later. Absolutely no resale value. Do I love paying nothing for gas because I charge at home? Absolutely. My electric bill is unchanged since it's been in the shop. Meanwhile, I've spent $60 in that time filling my new car, hybrid, with gas. So yeah, electric cars have real benefits, but Tesla as a company is a fucking shit show. Tesla. Worst $70K I have ever spent. FSD is a scam. The paint is poor. The build quality is poor. It rattles. It constantly has issues that the service center fixes, with a little tape, I'm guessing, because the problems come back. Terrible car. Every Chevy I have ever owned has been a piece of garbage. Every Ford has been a piece of garbage. A Honda almost killed me. A Nissan kneecapped my life for years. I've only had one car that was good and passed the smog every time. A Fleet 1998 F-150. I drove it daily for 13 years and put 280K miles on it. At the end, there were just a bunch of little things that kept stacking up that I just got tired of learning how to fix. So I got a F-150 King Ranch at a pretty good price with really low miles. Any Stellantis crap like Fiat, Chrysler, Peugeot, or Citroën, I swear they are a ticking time bomb for the electric gremlins to appear. So after all those years, my only logical step was to buy a BEV Peugeot. I'm an idiot. A Lamborghini, but to be fair, that's because I can't afford it. Also, I never had one to begin with. Nissan Rogue. Literally the month I finished paying it off, it would not turn on. Spent $2K on 3 different supposed issues. Still non-functional. Sold for scrap, so I wouldn't have to look at it ever again. Tesla Model 3. That thing sucked. I live in Boston. Wouldn't go anywhere in the cold, and the handles would freeze shut. Everything swears up and down that it doesn't impact your electric bill a ton, but but I'm just saying that my electric bill literally quadrupled for the few months that I had it, to the point where filling up a truck every day would be cheaper. And it's now back down to normal. I lost $15K on the trade-in and was just happy to see it gone. Definitely a Toyota. Have an Aero 8 4Runner with 250K miles that has never had any real issues other than typical wear and tear. Still drives like new. Been waiting for it to die so we can justify an upgrade to something within this decade. But Toyota is killing that dream with its immortality. Gonna pass this old reliable bitch down to my grandchildren when it crosses the 1 million mile mark. Anything not Japanese? Ideally, if you had an American car that made it to 200K without expensive repairs, you are in the statistical minority. Dodge especially Ford's global platform cars to a lesser extent when they actually made them. I've never had a Toyota die, I just sell them because my needs change. 87 444 sold with just under 400K on original. AE86 had 250K on original. Current Honda Fit has 230K, and it's aging but fine. Tacoma has like 140K, so barely broke in. Only exception is Nissan to a point, garbage CVTs, and Subaru. At least with Subaru, they have a formidable odd system, but will often require more repairs due to manufacturing issues that don't show up for years. Old ones. It was the head gaskets, 1216. They didn't use the proper rings, so they ate oil. I think they fixed that. A-Fike. The new ones are fine, but it'll still avoid forced induction models. A used Audi A4. Oil changes every 2 weeks. Turbo was broken. If it rained hard, the fuse box would short the fuse and make the engine fan run constantly. This caused the battery to die often. I had to pull the fuse every time I got out of the car. Then the key broke off in the ignition. I will never buy a new car again. I will always buy used with a good service history. Buying new is totally not worth it. Chevy Cruze, Chevy Equinox, Jeep Patriot, Jeep Compass, Jeep Wrangler, after 2005. Any cheaper American-made car really. The Focus was alright, damned with the Cobalt, or a Tesla. Any of them. American-made and also crap. Jeep, pretty sad because I really liked my Jeep Cherokee, but the V6 engine died at only 50K miles. They wanted 14K to replace the engine. I had just paid it off like 6 months before this happened too. I ended up having to sell it at only 40% of its value. I would chalk it up to bad luck, but there are plenty of other negative reviews out there regarding the quality of Jeep. Not worth the risk. Dodge Chrysler for me. Bought my wife a Chrysler, and after constant small stupid electrical problems, it actually left her on the side of the road, and we traded it in as soon as it was running again. Owned the car for less than 6 months. Any Peugeot car. My missus and I have had a couple and both were total nails. Her 106 would randomly have a power surge, then cut out. It was terrifying to experience when you were driving at 75 mph down a motorway. The garage could never find the problem. It got so bad that we traded it in with a dealer for a small Ago, which saved us a fortune in dry cleaning bills for underwear. New model generation with powertrain from last generation. Wait 1 year from release. New model generation with new powertrain. Wait 2 years from release. New model altogether. Wait 3 years from release. Trust me. Never buy again? Everything but a Toyota. We have a 2016 Camry and a 2019 4Runner. Not the latest and greatest. And God, the 5th Gen 4Runner platform is long in the tooth. But they have worked out arguably all the major issues by now. None. I only buy Toyota, Subaru, or Honda. It's better to buy high-quality used items than crappy new ones. Actually, the Mercury Villager just entered the chat. It was actually a rad vehicle. I was just a snobby and whiny bitch. We got it for free and got $2,000 when I totaled it. Its main issues were the brake pads failing every 3 months and shit rolling around everywhere and getting caught under the pedals. Dodge. I bought a Dakota with a V8. It had nothing but problems. The power window stopped working, the back glass leaked, and the transmission had to be rebuilt. It was only a few years old with low miles. Jaguar XF. Great car and surprisingly few issues. It's just the 2 issues Love had, and regular servicing, have been exceedingly expensive. You can't change the wiper fluid without taking it to the dealer, who are the only ones who can repair them. Volkswagen. I've owned 2. Honestly, I loved them to death, but there was always something going wrong with them. 2001 Jetta had a million things wrong. 2010 GTI had less things wrong, but the automated clutch was horrendous at low speeds, slipping and lurching. I have a 2016 Mazda CX-5 and have had like 2 minor things happen. Will definitely get a Mazda again. I had an Audi once, in the 90s. It's okay that VWs were always a little lacking in the switches and trim department. They were cheap. What sucks is VW quality, VW parts, but a badge that adds 40% or more to any given part cost. Amazing to drive, horrible to repair. And it needed a lot of repairs. I'll never buy another Mercedes-Benz. I've owned 6, I can't work on them anymore, and the quality has fallen through the basement floor. Ford, Chrysler, and GM never had anything but problems with all brands. Several different cars. Just not worth it for me. Edit. To add, GM eliminating CarPlay going forward is just another reason for me not to purchase their products. Subaru Forester. Loved the way it looked. Extremely uncomfortable. Made my hip sciatica hurt after 30 minutes of driving. My Jetta Sportwagen is an infinitely more comfortable ride. I'd also never buy another Mini Cooper because mine had to be returned after 1 weekend and excessive oil burning. Ford, Frigu Ecotec 3-cylinder timing, belt oil pump belt that you basically have to remove the engine and transmission to replace. VW Audi went through that phase in HS, all set now. Volvo had an S90. What a nightmare. Not 1, but 2 radiator replacements in less than 100k miles, 2 PNP switch failures on the transmission, broken door latch pulls, leaking oil from a porous engine block, numerous ground and switch issues. Wonderful road car for trips when it ran, but always a gamble if you were going to make it. Really nice seats too. Very comfortable while waiting for AAA to arrive. Probably a Honda. We've got an Euro 6 Civic as a daily, and it's perfectly adequate, but nothing exciting whatsoever. And out of all the fun cars I've owned, Honda was the least reliable with the 87 Civic and 84 Prelude. American car. Not if I can help it anyways. Never had so many breakdowns in my life. In fact, my Nissan never broke down once. I had a Chevrolet that broke down almost every month. Pretty much any vehicle costs more than $2,500. I can buy one for that price, drive it for a year, do 0 maintenance, sell it at the end of a year even if only to a scrapyard for $200. And I still come out ahead versus making payments, depreciation, and insurance. I've had a couple duds, but so far I've come out way ahead after doing this for 20 years. Only vehicle that ever left me stranded was when I broke that rule and bought a $4,000 pickup because I needed something bigger for work. The $800, $1,000, and $2,500. Pickups never left me stranded. Hyundai. I have owned 3 brand new, Elantra GT 2003, Sonata 2010, and Santa Fe Sport 2013. Just got rid of the Santa Fe because of all the problems, not only with the car recalls and engines seizing up for no reason, but because of our local dealerships. There are only 2 within 4 hours, and their service depth was a bunch of idiots who only caused more damage. 2012 Mustang. Fun to drive. Because outside of perfect conditions, this flimsy piece of plastic attached to an engine will slide on every turn and be pushed by the wind across the road. Somehow, you do get used to that. And managing the control of the vehicle isn't that bad. Once you get used to it, even then, it's a fun car, not a stable car that gets you point A to point B. I had so many problems with this car, IDK. Where to even begin? Electrical issues, engine issues, brake, and tires issues. The exterior of the car is so damn flimsy. Some dude backed into the front of that car in a parking lot, saw the whole thing. Dude was going very slow. That entire front of the car looked like it came out of a high-speed dole crash. Airbags even popped, which I didn't even know could happen when the car is off. The only positive of Mustangs is that they look badass. But I'm a person that sees cars as a tool, as a utility. I don't really care if my vehicle looks badass. My main priority in a car is being able to get it to reach plus 500k miles with minimal to no mechanical upkeep. Own a truck now, and it's fucking awesome. I wouldn't be surprised to get this bad boy to 500k. Currently almost 150k, and I've had 0 issues whatsoever. Nissan Leaf. Fast charging is slow, and the plug is dying out. AC charging is slow too. Range isn't great and handles like a grandma. Tech also seems old and boring. Chevy Beretta. Which is good because they're no longer made. That thing cost me so much and gave me so little. Post-2012 Subaru Outback. They increased the size and weight, but not the motor. It sounded like a damn lawnmower when trying to pass and lacked power. even when using manual shifting. There was more cabin noise than in my 1998 Dodge Ram 1500. If the battery died and you put the key into the ignition before you knew that, it would lock the damn key in the ignition so you couldn't get it out, meaning that you had to leave a car sitting there while you went to find someone for a jump, knowing that any thief with a pair of jumper cables could take it. I had a 2003 Outback before and regret selling it. It would go fast, quietly, with plenty of power, and with studded tires you could climb trees. And it got better gas mileage. Never again will I own another modern Subaru. We bought a beautiful metallic green Chevy Silverado 2500 4x4 pickup with all the bells and whistles, but it died on us 6 times, leaving us stranded with our year-old baby in the truck up in the mountains, miles from home. That was the last straw. The dealer couldn't figure out the issue each time. We traded it in because it was truly a lemon. We got a new Ford F-150 4x4 Super Crew cab in exchange, which we've had since 2013. It has under 60K miles, gets regular maintenance, had brake jobs when needed, and has been the best vehicle we've ever owned. My husband, a utility lineman, had to drive his work truck everywhere as he was the emergency trouble man. I used my car, so our Ford has low mileage for an 11-year-old vehicle. It still looks brand new. Mazda, I didn't buy it from the local dealership, as they wouldn't match the price from another dealership from another state. Didn't think I would go there and buy it from them. Saved around $2,000. I go to the local dealership for service, and they are just shit. Just got my car back from a service, and this is the 3rd time. In 4 years, I got my car back with some warning sign on. It's like if you don't check the car. The new warning sign wasn't there before. Not a specific brand, but anything less than 100 HP ton. Modern UK traffic, anything less powerful is just grim. I found that to be a minimum for comfortable driving. Thank you for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, check out our other interesting videos. Living with a dishwasher for 10 years and never knew it. And what poor food is now expensive to eat. Don't miss these unique stories and intriguing insights. We look forward to seeing you in our next videos.